Hello people of YouTube, I come to you today with a new acquisition. I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try and build some shelves. There's been two or three projects I wanted to try where it would have been nice to have a Dado blade. Yes, a Dado blade. I've never used one before. I've done a little bit of research. There's two different kinds. You've got the wobbly kind, which is one blade that you put on a slight tilt and it wobbles back and forth and cuts out a ditch. And then you've got these kinds where it's several blades and cutters in one, that you piece it together in whatever thickness you need and ultimately create the thickness of a gully or whatever you need. So I picked this up today, not today, but recently at Harbor Freight. It's not the cheapest one they have. I looked at some of the reviews. The inexpensive one, which is $30-some, had decent reviews, but there were a couple of people complaining about how it didn't cut very flat and they were disappointed. This one here had better reviews. It's a little bit more expensive, but it had much better reviews, and according to the reviews, it will cut properly or close to. And I thought I'd give it a try. I'd like to be able to buy an expensive one, but budget says otherwise. And again, as I've said before, I don't do a whole lot. I'm not I'm not doing this for a living. I'm not making a lot of projects. It's kind of a casual thing. If at some point I do get to where I'm making projects and making money, I'll definitely start to upgrade to better tools. But for now, this is going to have to do. Now let's open this up and see what we've got here. Open this up. And we basically have, I believe, a stack of blades. I believe this is one of the outer blades. And next up, we have another outer blade? Yeah, I guess so. And these would be the chippers that go in between. A little bit of oil on them. Guess that's to keep them from rusting. Another two. And these are going to need to be wiped down. 3. 4. 5 chippers. And at the very bottom we have a number of spacers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have to face them the right way when you put it together, because these are the outside. You have to pay attention to make sure you don't accidentally put one backwards, because it's not going to work right. And then you have the chipper blades that go in between. Now these two. There's 4 of these. They're all exactly the same thickness. And then you have this one here, which is actually thinner. Not sure how well that's going to show up. But depending on how thick and thin you need it, depends on which one of these and how many you're going to put in there. And then also you have these spacers. But let's say I wanted to put one together. If you look at the cutting teeth, they're flat on one side and stick out on the other. That part that sticks out there goes on the outside. But the blades would go like this because the teeth stick out towards the outer edge. So let's stack this up. And I'm only going to use a couple. One thing you want to do is there's gaps in the teeth every so often. You want to place the chipper blades so that they line up and sit inside of those gaps. And I'm going to use a couple, so that's pretty well lined up. We'll stagger this one, and then this one will go on top. And you want to line up the sections, the empty sections, with the outside, or with the teeth. You want to line up the empty sections with the teeth of the blade under it. So it would go something like this. And if this wasn't quite wide enough, you would put spacers in between to widen it out. But just for demonstration purposes, for my purposes, I'm going to stack the blades like this. So we'll put this one in. Set up the two outside blades and two of the inside chippers, and I just kind of want to do a close-up of how this is arranged. You've got the outside blade here, and right here is a gap between the teeth, and so I've lined up the first chipper blade, the one right next to it, so that its blades are in that gap. And if we turn, there's the next gap and the teeth are there. And then the next chipper blade I lined up, this is one of the blades on the chipper, here's the other. So I've lined up the next chipper blade in between those, so that its blade are in between these blades of this chipper. And if you turn, of course, same thing. This is the first chipper blade, this is the second. And then I put the outside blade on, and its gap is right here. There's a gap between blades on the outside blade, and the outside chipper, the one next to this blade, is set so that the teeth are in that gap. If you were to insert another chipper blade in between, you would just need to stagger it. But you wouldn't want these two blades or these two teeth beside each other, because the edge of the teeth sticks out thicker than the blade itself, or than the disc, I should say. And these two would not sit flat if they were together. And these teeth are wider, especially the chipper teeth are wide enough that they can be spaced apart and still cut cleanly. So I've got it set up. Got me a scrap board here that I'm going to play with, see how this goes. I've got the blade set so that it's not going to cut all the way through. The table saw that I have is a Sears Craftsman 10-inch 2 horsepower direct drive, which is not the most powerful thing you can get. So I may have to take it slow with this. But I want to get a feel for it. Let's see what happens. Well, that worked well. Took it a little extra time to get up to speed, which I'm not surprised. There's considerable more weight in there. I'm running 4 blades instead of 1. But it cut nice and easily. That went well. Ironically, I didn't really measure this out to be this way, but it cut. This is plyboard. I just wanted to use a piece of scrap to see how it went. And I seem to have almost exactly cut one layer of the plyboard off. But if you look, it's not a perfectly flat cut, but it is close. not perfectly flat, but it is pretty close. And that may be in part due to this being plyboard. I might have to look for another scrap that isn't plyboard. I've got one of the scrap pieces from the chair that I pulled apart a while back. It is not plyboard, it is solid wood. It's very soft wood. But let's see what happens. And then it shows it a little bit better. You can kind of see the center part is slightly raised. Slightly raised over the outer blades. That's not too bad. I don't think that's very bad at all. I think that's really close. This is all you get with the Lifetime Extra Fine Cut 8-inch stacked dado blade set. You get your outer blades, you get several chippers. All of these are the same size. This one is thinner. And then you have spacers, 0.005, 0.010, and 0.020, so that you can adjust it to make whatever width of cut you need to make. So it's not a bad deal. It's half the price of anything you'd find in, or anything I saw in Lowe's or Home Depot. It worked fine. It worked a little bit better than I expected. How long it'll stay sharp, I don't know. I will learn that as I go, but it made a nice, pretty clean cut. I'm surprised at how clean a cut it did make. Pleasantly so. It is almost flat. It'll work for the projects I'm wanting to do. I look forward to trying to make some sort of small shelf or bookcase type thing. Got a few ideas in mind. Now that I own this set of dado blades, I should be able to pull it off. I think perhaps one of the first projects I should consider doing is a box or something to put the blades in, because this is just a flimsy cardboard box that was filled with foam, not even styrofoam. But anyway, not so much the box I'm interested in, it was the blades. I'm happy with them. I'll definitely post any updates if I have a problem down the road, but for now, if you're thinking about getting a dado blade and you're thinking of going with Harbor Freight, this is the slightly more expensive option. But from all the reviews I read, this is the better option, and it did not disappoint. So if you're thinking of getting a dado blade set and you're considering Harbor Freight, this is not the cheapest option. This is a step above, but all the reviews I read said this talked as if this were the better option. I'm pleased with it. I look forward to doing some projects with it in the future. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them down below. Thank you for watching, and stay creative.